Imagine a time capsule from the year 2026. Usually when we think of these things, we picture, a sealed, pristine titanium cylinder.
Right, buried under cornerstone somewhere.
Exactly. And it's filled with presidential speeches or maybe major scientific papers, like humanity putting its absolute best foot forward.
A perfectly curated snapshot.
Yeah, exactly. But what if, instead of all that prestige, the time capsule contained a 20-year-old having a literal life-or-death argument over ChatGPT?
Oh, well.
Or a politician gambling on her own schedule and an American screaming at an Italian barista because they wouldn't make her a Dunkin' Donuts coffee?
I mean, it would be chaotic, to say the least, but it would also be, a far more accurate reflection of how people actually lived and what they were feeling at that exact moment in time.
And that is exactly what we are opening for you today on this deep dive. We're looking at a highly chaotic, entirely accidental historical document.
I love these kinds of sources.
They're the best. It's a transcript from a completely amateur comedy radio show called Past Week, Next Week, and it's dated June 7th, 2026.
Okay.
And the hosts of this show literally open their broadcast by warning the audience that there is, quote, nothing inspirational, deep, or motivating happening.
Setting the bar low right out of the gate.
Oh, yeah. They say it's just goofiness. They complain about getting old. They review some wild news stories. They talk about their mundane weekends.
Which is actually the ultimate Trojan horse for cultural history.
Right.
Because they aren't trying to be profound, Their guard is completely down.
Right.
And through that casual banter, they end up giving us a brilliant, unfiltered reflection of society's underlying anxieties.
Yeah, our mission today is to decode this transcript. Because
Well.
beneath all the surface-level jokes, these guys are processing some really heavy 2026 realities.
For sure.
We're going to explore how they grapple with their aging bodies, the sheer whiplash of rapidly shifting media and AI, the absolute absurdity of the modern news cycle, and this one's my favorite, an epidemic of entitlement.
It's a packed transcript.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. How does a random comedy transcript actually provide a sharp reflection of society? Like, where does this even start?
Well, we start right where the hosts do, with the unavoidable physical reality of the march of time.
Oh, man, getting older.
Exactly. They kick off the show by mourning the passing of Peabo Bryson.
Okay, the singer.
Right, and they are specifically talking about his legendary duets. Like, they bring up a whole new world.
They seem genuinely struck by it, too. Like, it's not just a passing comment. They bring up how their specific cultural icons, the people they call the Joneses, are, well, they're fading.
And who do they mean by the Joneses?
They define it as the youngest of the baby boomer generation. So people like Prince and Michael Jackson. And they're realizing these figures are all either aging out or, passing away.
Right, the landscape of their youth is disappearing.
Yeah. And then one of the hosts talks about seeing the actress Gina Davis playing an old person in a Netflix show called The Burrows.
Oh, I can see how that would be a shock.
Yeah. Right. You can tell it triggers this stark realization for him. The culture they grew up with is fundamentally changing.
And notice what immediately follows that pop culture realization in the transcript. They pivot straight into incredibly mundane, almost grotesque updates about their own medical issues.
It's quite the transition.
It is. It's a fascinating psychological juxtaposition.
Oh, and it gets so detailed. One host talks about going in for an endoscopy because of a severe hernia.
Yikes.
His third one, actually. And he's explaining how his esophagus is disconnected from his stomach. He says his diaphragm is supposed to fit snugly around it, but instead everything is just, and this is, quote, loosey-goosey.
Loosey-goosey. Very technical medical terminology there.
The highest level of science, truly.
While his co-host counters with his own physical breakdown. He's detailing an MRI he had to get for a torn shoulder tendon and a torn labrum.
Oh, the MRI story is intense.
Right, but the compelling part is how he handles the psychological stress of being in that tiny MRI tube. He fights off sudden claustrophobia by actively meditating.
Which makes sense.
Sure, but he does it by forcing himself not to think about a story he just saw in Good Morning America. A story specifically about cave explorers getting trapped underground.
Which is like the worst thing you could possibly think about in an MRI machine.
Exactly.
But wait, I have to push back a little here.
Okay, go ahead.
Is this really a profound psychological juxtaposition? Or is this just two middle-aged guys whining about their joints on a microphone? I mean, aren't we being a little generous by framing this as a deep existential crisis?
That's a fair question, but it's both, and that's why it's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
We have to look at the mechanism of why they're doing this.
Okay, how so?
As humans, when our bodies start to fail, when you start tearing tendons just getting out of bed, it creates a terrifying loss of control. What's fascinating here is the psychological coping mechanism. We instinctively anchor ourselves to the pop culture and the vitality of our youth.
Oh, I see.
It's why throughout the entire transcript, they keep hyping up this upcoming Earth, Wind, and Fire special on HBO.
Oh, right. They talk about that a lot.
They marvel at Philip Bailey's falsetto. They talk about how the band used to dress like 1970s superheroes. Nostalgia isn't just a fun trip down memory lane for them. It acts as a literal psychological life raft.
I see what you mean. It's like they are legacy software trying to run on modern hardware. The system is crashing.
That's a great way to put it.
Which makes the other detail in that MRI story so funny to me. It's almost like a check engine light coming on for an entire generation. But the host with the torn shoulder immediately compares his injury to elite young athletes.
Oh, the football player comparison.
Yes. He points out that Xavier Worthy and another young athlete had the exact same torn labrum. He's literally lying in bed, tears his shoulder doing nothing, and his brain immediately says, oh yes, just like the blazingly fast NFL prospects in their physical prime.
Exactly. It's a desperate grab for relevance.
Yeah.
If he shares an injury with a world-class athlete, he isn't just an aging guy falling apart. He's part of this elite physical fraternity. It's a beautifully human delusion.
Think about that for a second if you're listening. Have you ever tweaked your back picking up a grocery bag and immediately found yourself Googling professional athletes with the same lumbar injury?
We all do it.
We really do. But there's a dark irony here, right? Their physical bodies are slowing down. They're trapped in MRI tubes and limited by hernias. But the second they look at their phones, the world around them is moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
It's an incredible contrast.
They are physically stuck in the mud while technology is just in hyperdrive.
Which brings a completely different kind of anxiety into the transcript. The transition from physical limitations to the incomprehensible acceleration of media and AI is pretty jarring.
Yeah, you can feel the tension spike when they start talking about the SAG-AFTRA contract.
Right, the Actors Union. They locked in a 4-year deal stretching all the way to June 2030 with a 91% approval rating.
Which sounds like a win, but the hosts flag this massive underlying fear. They ask, is it a catastrophic mistake to lock in artificial intelligence provisions for 4 entire years when the technology is literally evolving by the hour?
It's a completely legitimate question about the pace of human bureaucracy versus algorithmic evolution.
Certainly.
But that anxiety isn't just professional for them. They highlight how it bleeds into the deeply personal. They discuss a very dark news story about a 20-year-old Auburn University student who was found dead in a wooded area in Japan.
Oh man, yeah, that part was heavy.
And the alleged catalyst for him running off. A fight with his mother over her use of ChatGPT.
Okay, let me stop you right there.
Yes.
Because that is a horrific story, obviously, but isn't that just an extreme, tragic one-off? How does that reflect a broader societal trend?
It's because of how the hosts interpret it. They see it as the ultimate manifestation of generational friction over AI.
Oh, I think I get it. Like 2 totally different worldviews.
Precisely. To the older generation, like the mother in this story, ChatGPT is just a neat trick. It's a convenience. But to the younger generation, it is an existential threat.
Right. They see it as an environmental drain and economic replacement.
Exactly. Yeah. Fundamental disconnect in how the technology is perceived is literally tearing at the fabric of basic human relationships. And the source points out that AI is absolutely everywhere in 2026.
Seriously, everywhere. Like they bring up a Chinese startup that invented an AI pet translator.
Yes, the pet collar.
You strap this device around a dog or cat's neck, it analyzes their vocalizations and behaviors, and it claims a 90% accuracy rate in interpreting the animal's exact emotions.
Which is fascinating. But alongside that deep AI integration, the source highlights an equally massive shift in how humans are actually consuming information. The entire media diet has completely fractured.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Are we fundamentally rewiring our brains to only handle tiny 15-second hits of information?
It certainly seems that way.
Because the hosts talk about an experiment by the Fox network. Fox is taking an entire traditional season of a reality show, Farmer Wants a... Right. And they are carving it up into over 100 vertical microdramas. They are basically re-editing an entire narrative arc specifically for mobile streaming platforms. The hosts are just totally baffled by it.
And we need to look at the mechanism behind why networks are doing this, which ties into the concept of context collapse.
Context collapse.
Yeah. In a microdrama ecosystem, you aren't watching a story anymore. You are being fed isolated spikes of dopamine.
Just constant hits.
Exactly. 15 seconds of crying, swipe. 15 seconds of a kiss, swipe. It actively degrades the brain's capacity for sustained narrative attention.
Think about your own scrolling habits. How many 15-second videos do you consume before you even get out of bed in the morning?
It's scary to count.
It really is. But the transcript points out this bizarre paradox. At the exact same time Fox is slicing shows into 15-second dopamine hits, ticketing sites are absolutely crashing for Christopher Nolan's new film, The Odyssey.
The contrast is wild.
People are going crazy for it. Resale tickets are hitting $1,000. $1,000 just to sit in a theater and watch a 3-hour epic.
That's because humans are contradictory. As our daily media diet becomes more fragmented, algorithmic, and isolating, our hunger for massive, collective, deep experiences skyrockets.
We just want to feel connected.
Right. We will pay premium prices just to feel like we are part of a shared cultural moment.
It's why they also note that live NFL sports are the only television product left that can command premium advertising rates. It is the rare, vanishing thing capable of delivering a massive audience all at the exact same moment.
Precisely. You have the isolating world of microdramas and AI companions pulling us in one direction, and this desperate financial premium placed on real-time shared experiences pulling us in the other.
It's exhausting just thinking about it. And, when you take that fragmented, hyper-accelerated media environment and you apply it to the actual news cycle,
Oh boy.
you get pure absurdity. The political simulation in 2026 just seems completely broken.
We see this perfectly illustrated in the radio show's News Quiz and their headlines and predictions comedy segments.
And a crucial note here for you, the listener. We are looking at this strictly impartially. We're not endorsing any of the jokes or the political viewpoints from the left or the right.
Absolutely not. Our goal is strictly to analyze how the hosts use comedy to process an environment that feels deeply unstable.
Because the headlines they are reading sound like they were auto-generated by a broken satirist. Like, they bring up a guy named Bill P.
Oh, the double duty guy.
Yeah, he is simultaneously heading the Federal Housing Finance Agency and serving as the acting director of National Intelligence. Two completely unrelated, massive government roles held by one person.
It's surreal. And then they discuss Graham Plattner, a Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate in Maine. He is embroiled in a sex texting scandal while also trying to explain away a highly questionable covered-up tattoo from his past.
Just a mess. And then they flip over to the right. They talk about the Minnesota GOP, who literally paused their party convention to pay a brief tribute to Derek Chauvin.
Which is just astonishing.
It's a circus. They talk about Spencer Pratt, the reality TV villain from MTV's The Hills.
I remember him.
He's apparently mounting a strong challenge against Karen Bass for the mayor of Los Angeles.
Unbelievable.
And the absolute peak of this. A former congresswoman is under federal investigation for going on to online prediction markets and betting on her own attendance at the State of the Union address.
You can't make this stuff up.
She bet she wouldn't show up, and then she didn't show up.
And how do the radio hosts cope with this avalanche of bizarre news? Through highly structured joke writing.
Right. They use their comedy backgrounds.
They test out punchlines regarding President Trump passing $70 billion in funding for ICE and Border Patrol. They write dark jokes about the lack of progress in Iran peace talks. And they mock the deep divisions over the billions of dollars in Ukraine funding.
But wait, I have to ask, are we giving them too much credit here?
What do you mean?
Like, are they actually coping, or are they just shock jocks throwing stuff at the wall for ratings? When a politician is literally gambling on her own schedule, what is the point of a punchline? How does comedy even function when the actual news feels like a parody?
That is the exact question we have to ask. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains the psychological mechanism of absurdism.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Traditional satire works by exaggerating reality to point out its flaws.
Right, like stretching the truth to make a point.
Exactly. But when reality itself is a parody, when a politician literally bets on her own, attendance satire dies. It can't compete with reality. So humor has to evolve into absurdism.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense.
It is no longer just for entertainment. In an era of total information overload and profound systemic distrust, laughter is a desperate anchor. Regardless of their political affiliations, these hosts use mockery to assert some tiny semblance of control over a system that feels completely out of their hands. If the government is absurd, the only logical response to avoid being crushed by that absurdity is pure surrealism.
But that macro level absurdity, that feeling that the institutions running the world are just a joke, it trickles down, doesn't it? Like, if the rules don't matter at the highest levels of leadership, why should they matter to you at the coffee shop?
That is the exact through line. When institutions feel like a broken simulation, individual entitlement skyrockets. We see this brilliantly captured in the Sources segment, focusing on tourist behavior.
Oh man, this part was wild to me. The hosts are reviewing viral videos of people traveling the globe. And first there's a video of a woman from Florida who travels all the way to Rome, Italy.
A beautiful, historic city.
Exactly. She walks into this authentic, cute little Italian coffee shop and asks the barista to make her a Dunkin' Donuts 5 and 5.
A 5 and 5.
Which means 5 sugars and 5 creams.
And predictably, the Italian barista has absolutely no idea what she is talking about. He just serves her a traditional coffee.
And she films herself being visibly annoyed. Like, she's complaining that it isn't sweet enough, as if the local culture in Rome has somehow failed her by not strictly adhering to the corporate fast food specs of a Florida Dunkin' Donuts.
It's astounding.
So what does this all mean? It's like these people are traveling across the globe and they expect their home Wi-Fi password to just automatically connect them to the internet everywhere they go. They expect the whole world to cater to their specific default settings.
That Wi-Fi analogy is perfect.
Yeah.
Because it perfectly explains the mechanism of main character syndrome.
Yes. We hear that term a lot.
Right. And it's not just about being rude. These entitled tourists fundamentally view foreign cultures, local baristas, and literal military guards, not as autonomous human beings, but as animatronics in their own personal theme park.
Oh, speaking of military guards, that entitlement scales up to actual physical danger in the transcript.
It does.
The source discusses videos from the UK outside Buckingham Palace. There are Royal King guards mounted on horseback. And there is a clearly painted white line on the ground, plus massive signs that explicitly warn, "Beware, horse may kick or bite, do not touch."
Very clear instruction.
You would think. But the tourists step right over the line. They walk up to a massive, highly trained animal with a military guard on its back, and they grab the horse's reins to take a selfie.
The world is just a backdrop for their content.
Which results in exactly what the sign promised. The horse bites a woman's sweater and refuses to let go.
Naturally.
And the guard is forced to scream at the top of his lungs, "Get off of the reins! Stand clear!" And the tourists are actually offended that they are being yelled at.
It's madness. But, the source material does offer a hopeful contrast here.
Right, it wasn't all bad.
No. The hosts point out videos of other tourists who actually respect the boundaries. They specifically mention a young U.S. airman in uniform and several Asian tourists.
Oh yeah, they handled it so differently.
Completely differently. These individuals approach the Royal Guard, but they stay strictly behind the painted white line. They don't try to touch the horse. Instead, they stand respectfully, acknowledge the guard, and in several cases, they offer a deep bow.
It's such a stark difference. It's the difference between traveling to experience the world versus traveling to force the world to experience you.
That contrast highlights a profound cultural value. The respectful tourists choose to engage with the world on the world's own terms. They acknowledge the friction of being a guest in someone else's reality, and they adapt to it.
Man, this has been an incredible journey. What started as a breakdown of a goofy, self-proclaimed, meaningless comedy radio show ended up revealing some incredibly deep truths about 2026.
It really did.
By unpacking this transcript, we've seen the psychological mechanism of using nostalgia to cope with our bodies acting like outdated legacy software. We've explored the context collapse of 15-second microdramas versus the desperate craving for a $1,000 movie ticket.
We've unpacked how absurdism becomes a desperately needed defense mechanism against a surreal political landscape.
Yeah, and we've seen how the breakdown of institutional trust manifests as main character syndrome in everyday tourists.
It truly is a perfect, unfiltered time capsule.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want you, the listener, to think about your own daily habits. When you scroll your phone today, how much of your media diet is made up of isolated, dopamine-spiking microdramas versus deep, shared engagement.
That's a great question to ask yourself.
And when you step out of your comfort zone, are you adapting to your surroundings, or are you bringing your own 5 and 5 Wi-Fi expectations into a new environment?
And to leave you with one final thought to mull over. Earlier, we mentioned that Chinese startup that created an AI pet translator, the one capable of reading emotions with 90% accuracy.
Yeah.
Well, technology is only accelerating.
Yeah.
What happens if or when AI eventually evolves to flawlessly translate not just our languages, but every single human cultural nuance and expectation for us in real time?
Oh, wow.
If our devices automatically smooth over every difference so we never face a misunderstanding, will we completely lose the friction of travel? And without that friction, without the awkward miscommunications, the mismatched coffee orders, and the absolute necessity to humble ourselves and adapt to someone else's rules, will we lose the very mechanism that teaches us global empathy?
Wow. That is, yeah. If the world becomes completely frictionless, what happens to the boundaries? Will we all just end up grabbing the reins, completely blind to the fact that the horse is about to bite? Think about it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, and we will see you next time.